Good evening. This is Spirit Journey. Today is Saturday, December 7th, 10:10 p.m. I want to talk to you about this video that I saw. It's with Lauren Lake, and she handles paternity cases. And I've been watching this show on YouTube for quite a while. It is very addictive. But watching one of the episodes today, I really started thinking the insanity of some of these guests that come on the show. And then it hit me regarding the people and all these tests that are being done. Now, many of the people who go on this show, many of them are blacks from America. And yes, of course, they have whites too. But the number of blacks and some of the recklessness of the people in general who come on this show, and the fact that they have to get tested of their DNA. Now, you may ask, well, so what? You have to take the DNA and to find out who's the father, and in cases, who's the mom. But as you see, it seems to be getting more and more and more rampant use of the gathering of DNA. And the fact that many of the people who go on the show are blacks. Many of these people are poor. And what happens in these intense situations when people are just at their wits' end and people who are being ruled by their passions, good or bad, what usually happens? Well, one of their passions are their sexuality and the desire to assert their manhood or womanhood. And many of these individuals may think that one's manhood or womanhood is based on the frequency and the number of children they have, even though they may not be able to afford this big responsibility. And even though these shows are readily available to look at in social media and to watch the people that go on these shows, it's not decreasing at all. And you wonder what's happening. Those are the neighbors back there, if you can hear them. But anyway, I started asking myself, why is this? Well, as you know, in some of these black communities, it's under a lot of oppression. And a lot of this oppression, in my opinion, is covert. And I have suggested in some of my videos that some of it may be attributed to these devices that have been shown in some documentaries that I've watched. These abilities of these satellite weaponry to affect one's behavior, their aggression, etc. And so I'm thinking with this excessive aggression and passion is revealed in things like the music and how they behave towards one another, including sexual behaviors. Well, you ask yourself, well, if that's true, well, why? So what? So I'm thinking, well, you have more of these people being put into condensed areas, and then a lot of missing people, human trafficking, which is a big thing now that you hear on social media, such as with Jeffrey Epstein, who's known for trafficking teenage girls. Well, blacks are being trafficked too. So, but what form of trafficking could blacks be used for? Well, these paternity shows, is a big clue, in my opinion. DNA harvesting, collecting one's DNA. You can take DNA and store it in these DNA banks. Who knows what they do with this DNA? It could also be used to surveillance an area, observing and seeing what is the general DNA pool of a region. What does it consist of? What are the minute, if you to classify a particular area, what is the constant genetic code of a region? So that, hey, if you know the DNA so well in the region, you could possibly develop a weapon that is genetic specific coding of a region, and then wipe them out or control them in some way, or to modify them to do your will. See, this DNA that's being collected has to go somewhere, and I see that there's a push for finding out one's DNA, what your origins are. What for? People are all fighting each other because of their differences, their ethnic differences, their religion, etc. So why this desire to push this wanting to know? And if you look at the different DNA companies, look at the names, look at the face of some of these individuals, and you may see a common denominator. I have also done a DNA testing to find out what my so-called roots are. But then I notice what the person who owns the company looks like. And I find it very problematic. And I'm wondering what they're going to do with these DNA. And I've heard over social media that some companies sell your data for who knows what. They could send it to, health insurance companies, gather a random selection of DNAs based on zip code, know in general who has what health condition that they didn't even disclose to you. Right? They have the power, and they can look at whatever they want to look at. So this is something that we all should be aware of, and maybe think twice about getting these DNA kits for your significant other to fill out, because once you give it to them, You can't ungive it. They have it, and they can use it for their benefits. They could sell your data, your DNA, and use it to find out about you, and could exploit your DNA. So it's a reason for these shows, a reason for their behaviors, and the reason why they want you to behave this way and to disrespect your body, your genetics. These women and men are just acting irrational with their bodies and don't care about or monitor their reproduction. And what happens in the end is more stress, more poverty, and more children being born feeling insecure because they know they're unloved, or wonder why so-and-so is taking care of them and not their own parents. We have to start thinking of the repercussions of our behavior, and that it might look cool to be so-called sexually free, to act out. But there's a responsibility. There's a responsibility of your genetics, of maintaining your body, and to be selective about what enters into your body and who you're being sexual with. There's a price to pay. Learn to respect your body, and just because of the sexual revolution from the 1970s, just because people say you are free and you're equal to a man, you're not equal. Once you have a uterus, you are different. You're not inferior. You are just different. And to embrace difference, we're all being brainwashed by the term of equality. And then using this fear of not being equal to give you an excuse to act like a so-called man. And even with men who have multiple partners, there is a price to pay for that freedom, such as venereal disease, such as AIDS. It's still there, AIDS. It's a killer. And so the fear of someone exploiting your DNA, and then the fear of the STDs that can kill you. This is time to really reflect and to embrace yourself, to self-love, to protect yourself, to protect your health, to protect your DNA, and to protect society for its social decaying. Think twice before you do something against your own body, because some things cannot be reversed. So this is just food for thought. Thank you again for listening. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.